Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fold Friday with Stamp with Anna. Today is the last day of my Carols of Christmas series. The Carols of Christmas is a stamp set that will be available in the holiday catalog September 1st. However, it is available for pre-order during the month of August. And the reason that's a great idea is because if you took advantage of the bonus days in July, where for every $50 you spent, you received a $5 coupon. During the month of August, you need to redeem your coupons, and you can use whatever coupons you have towards this great set. And it is available as a bundle, so it has these great stamps, and then it has some framelits called the card front builder framelits, which coordinate nicely with the set. For today's card, I did get the inspiration from this from the very, very talented Dawn Griffith, who is a $1 million seller at Stampin' Up, and she was able to design her own stamp set, which is called the One Wild Ride, which is a great stamp set, and she's so talented. I so enjoy watching her videos and listening to her tips. So she made this beautiful card, and I decided to case it. I did change it up a little bit, changed the designs, and obviously the papers are different, and just the design of it is a little differently. But it's a great little card. This is it here. It opens up this way, and then you open this, and this is where you would stamp your Christmas greeting. I think she called it a two-fold card, a fun two-fold card. But it is takes a bit of paper, and it is a little time consuming, but it's a great card, and I'm sure you'll agree at the end of the video. So what we need for supplies, excuse me, is I used for my base here, I used a piece of thick Whisper White. Then I wanted my front to be designer series paper, so I cut another piece. This came from a retired stamp paper stack from last year. I didn't end up getting any of the Christmas papers this year because I wasn't planning on doing a Christmas in July. So I took the opportunity to finally make a dent in all the designer series paper that I've been hoarding. So this is from a designer series stack called Trim the Tree. In any event, I took this one here, and I cut that also at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have two tiny strips of garden green, also 5 1/2. They're probably like a 1/2 inch, but that doesn't really matter. I'll show you why we need those. Then I have a piece of the designer series paper, which is cut at 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. Then I have a piece of Whisper White that's cut at 3 by 11, excuse me, scored at 5 1/2. That makes up all of these parts here. Then I need another little strip of paper in the same designer series paper, and this is cut at 3 by 1. Then I need a piece of another piece of garden green, which is 5 1/2 by 2 1/2. Scored at 2 1/2, and then you need some scrap Whisper White to stamp on, and some scrap garden green to make the trees, and this scalloped edge there. And for the thread here, I'm using the linen thread. So let me get started and show you how I made this. Before we put anything together, because I do need to slip my folding mechanism in between here, I am going to take this piece here. This is the 5 1/2 by 2 1/2 scored at 2 1/2, and I'm going to take the long piece, the longer of the two. See, if you fold it in half, it's, oh, I don't even have it scored straight. If you fold it, you have a piece that sticks out. That piece there, on the back of it, I am going to going to put some fast fuse. I do want that. I do want this adhesive to be a strong adhesive because it is going to be used a lot. So I'm going to use my fast fuse. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to butt this line up, this fold up against here. And I want it to come up. See here, it's about half an inch, quarter of an inch. Oops. So I want that to come up about that high. So I'm going to just eyeball that and attach. Okay, now I can put my card base on this. So for that, I don't need fast fuse. I'm just going to use my regular snail. Oh, here it is. The beautiful design, a pattern on the back of this. I did a 3D Thursday project with that paper. But for this one, I thought I might go with a little rustic feel. So we're going to align that there. Okay, and there we go. Now, I'm going to make this portion of it here. So I have this designer series paper here, which is cut at 5.5 by 3.5. And then you remember those two little strips? I wanted, instead of just having this designer series paper onto this one, I wanted to have that tiny little mat there. So I took these two little pieces. They're 5.5 by, I don't know, a half an inch each. And I'm going to apply some snail on the back of the red piece. And then I'm going to attach this green. Like I said, a very, very thin mat, just to break up the two designer series papers. Try to straighten those out nicely. Okay, there's one side. And there's the other side. Okay, and that's that. Now I can go ahead and attach that to this. And again, I can just use my snail. And if I find that I have a little overhang, just come back in with your snips and straighten that out. Okay, so there we go. There's the basis, the base part of our card. Now, the white piece here, you can either put it all together and then attach it here, or you can attach that now. So I think I'm going to assemble it, and then I'll come back in and attach it to my card base. So this piece here, I'm going to put aside. Now, what we need to do is do some stamping. So the first thing I'm going to stamp is this piece on earth, and I have a piece of scrap white. I'm going to take it in cherry cobbler, and I'm going to stamp that. Okay, put that aside. Now I'm going to take a tiny scrap of, actually I'm just going to do it on this, some more, I'm going to take the deer stamp, and using crumb cake, I'm going to stamp him, and I'm going to stamp him away from this because I do have to die cut that out, and I want to make sure I leave myself enough room. So there's that. Then the last bit of stamping we need to do is just this little holly leaf that I thought filled in a nice corner there. So I'm going to bring back my folded piece, and I'm going to aim for this corner right there. So I'm going to open this up. so that I have a flatter surface. And for that, I'm going to use Garden Green. I'm going to try to get this as close to the corner as I can. And because it's not photopolymer, I really can't see. But that's okay. I'm just going to eyeball it. And go down and up. I just want to make sure I don't go past my fold line. Alright, and that is all the stamping we need to do. Now I'm going to do my die cutting. So for the deer, there is a coordinating framelit, so I'm going to punch him out. For the piece on earth, I'm going to use the Stitched Shapes square. I'm going to die cut that out. Then on a piece of scrap Garden Green, from the layering squares, I'm going to cut out that mat. And then I need to cut out my trees. I need one large tree and one small tree. And I have some more scrap paper, so I can, let's see, I can fit those there like that. And that's all the die cutting I need to do. So I'm going to go do that off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with all of my die cut pieces, and I realized when I was die cutting that I forgot to stamp this little accent piece right down there. That is part of the Carols of Christmas stamp set. So with Garden Green, I'm just going to come in and add that little accent right there. Now I'm really done with all of my stamping. Now we just need to put the card together. So, first thing we're going to do is attach our little moving mechanism. Now I made this 2.5 inches because I wanted it to be as close to the size of this flap. I didn't want to open it and see just a small strip. And I also thought that it being thicker, it would give it more stability. It wouldn't flap. So what I'm going to do with my snail is I'm going to add some snail to this flap piece here. And I'm going to take the square and I'm going to get it as close to the edge as I can. Now, although it's scalloped and this little green piece on the back is flat, it really didn't bother me at all because I didn't think it was noticeable. See, so when you open it up, you have almost like a solid square there. There's no small little strip. So then I'm going to take the piece on earth that we stamped, and I'm going to attach that to this green here. Apply my snail. And I'm going to center that up. And there we go. Okay, so now we need to assemble this front piece here. And now that we have this attached, we kind of have an idea of where our trees need to go. So here are my trees, but I'm going to add a little bit of dimension to them. So with a sponge dauber, and I had it on my desk here, there it is. With the sponge dauber, I'm going to take a little bit of Garden Green and just sponge the edges and the bottom of my tree. That just makes it pop a little more, and it just looks nicer. And I'm going to bend that over just a tad to try to get inside there. Okay, don't they look nicer like that? Now with some dimensionals, I'm going to take the small tree because that's the only one that's going to be popped up, and I'm going to put a small dimensional. I love these new mini dimensionals. I'm going to put a small one towards the top and a larger one towards the bottom. Get that ink off my fingers before I end up smearing my project. Okay, so now on the back of the double trees, I'm going to apply some snail. Let me get it as close as you can to the top. And I'm going to just hold this where it's going to go. So it's going to go like this. So I'm going to take my tree and I'm going to position it right in the middle. Okay? And I'm going to take my single tree, remove my dimensionals, and add that. Just offset it a little bit. I'm not nuts about this little groove here, so I'm going to make my middle tree just hide that. Okay. Then on our tiny little deer, I'm going to take another small mini dimensional, and I'm going to put that on his back, and then position him in my scene. He's going to go right here. Okay. So now the next thing we need to do is going to take that little strip, of Designer Series paper, which is cut at 3.5 by 1, and we're going to apply adhesive to that. And again, we're going to position this here, and we're going to kind of center this right in the middle of that flap there. So we're going to position that right there at the edge, and then lift that flap. Okay, now we have to make our little ribbon. And for that, the only, if you can believe it, the only garden, I didn't have any garden green ribbon, solid ribbon. The only thing I had that was close to it was this Wild Wasabi seam binding. So what I did was I cut a piece that was roughly going to be enough to go around this whole thing, the whole side. Now, I need to make a seam. See, this is seamed together on the back here. It's not attached, but it's seamed together. So you want that seam to be as neat as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it ready and put it together in the front of my card and then just roll it over. So I'm going to take my Stampin', my snail, and I'm going to add some snail to my ribbon. I'm going to bring this flap over, line it up where it goes, and press. I want that to have a good adhesion. Then I'm going to come in with my shears and just cut where the end of those two pieces meet, so it's almost seamless. Now I don't want that to be shown on the front of my card, so I'm just going to roll it till it gets to the back of the card. And if you put it, when you roll it over to the back of the card, if you put it towards the edge here, it's not something you notice when you open the card up. But you just want the front of it to look nice. Then I'm going to take some linen thread. I'm running out of this. I think I need to get some more. I'm going to double my linen thread, and I'm going to run it underneath my ribbon towards the edge, and I'm going to tie a bow. Hopefully I gave myself enough ribbon. If I didn't, I might just have to make a knot. Okay, there's my bow. Do a little bit of fussing with that. All right, I'm going to center that. Now I'm going to, oh, I forgot to take the back piece off of my my reindeer's mini dot. All right, put him back. Now I'm going to put some snail on the back of this. And I'm going to line up the folded part towards the top. Make it hit right at the top, then come in and press. Now the last thing I'm going to do is just add a little bit of Dazzling Diamonds, Dazzling Details, excuse me, to the little berries, holly berries in the corner there. This is retired, but I have some, and I'm going to use it. And if you want this and you don't have any, you can certainly find a good alternative in any of the big box stores. But I just like that little touch of glimmer. Even though I did go with the rustic look on this card, I did want a little bit of bling. The stamp set, however, does have an image of holly berries, so you could certainly use that if you didn't want to use the glimmer. Okay, and then we just fold it over, and there we have it. Isn't that cute? And again, like I said, I got this idea from Dawn Griffith, a very, very talented Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. She, I changed it up a little bit, but her card was certainly the foundation for mine. So I encourage you to go look for her. She's Dawn'sStampingThoughts.net on, that's her blog, and I think that's what she goes by on YouTube as well. She's easy to find. She's Dawn Griffith. What she did a little differently was, instead of just having this flap be like this, she had this band here was a banner. She had angled the banner, and that was on her card. And she didn't, her background, her base was a solid color. I think it was green, I'm not quite sure. And I wanted to have DSP, so I had to use a couple extra layers. So it's just minor things like that that we changed, and I added that in the corner and the ribbon. But like I said, it was, the inspiration came from Dawn's beautiful card, and I hope you'll check her card out as well, and I hope you'll give this a try. Again, the stamp set is Carols of Christmas, and it's available in a bundle with the framelits, which are called Card Front Builders. And when you buy as a bundle, you do save 10%, and they are pre-orderable during the month of August. And if you don't get to them in August, which I hope you can, especially if you have $5 bonus days coupons, you can certainly get them come September 1st when they're in the holiday catalog. If you have any questions about this project or any of the products I used, or if I can help you get any of the products, certainly contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. On my blog, you will find a tab to contact me, as well as a tab to shop. Thanks so much, and have a great weekend.